When we talk about the morning, we often treat it as a simple transition from sleep to activity, a narrow bridge between rest and responsibility. But biologically, the morning is something far richer. It is a moment of negotiation between the body you were during sleep and the body you are about to become for the rest of the day. For seniors, this negotiation is especially important because the body wakes up cautious. Muscles are shorter than they were the day before. Joints are slightly dehydrated. The nervous system is alert but not yet fully coordinated. Pain, stiffness and hesitation are not signs of weakness here, they are messages. The body is saying, "Move me carefully and I will respond." The mistake we often make is either ignoring this message or overwhelming it. The truth lies in listening. As we age, muscle tissue changes in ways that are both subtle and profound. Muscle fibers don't simply shrink, they reorganize. The fast, explosive fibers quietly retire, while slower, endurance-based fibers become more prominent. At the same time, the communication between nerves and muscles becomes less efficient. This is why movements that once felt automatic now require attention. Morning stiffness is not just about joints or arthritis, it is also about this communication lag. The brain sends a signal, and the muscle replies a fraction of a second later. That delay is enough to create discomfort, imbalance, or pain. Gentle morning exercises are not about forcing flexibility, they are about restoring conversation between the brain and the body. When you begin the day with slow, intentional movement, you are not just stretching tissue. You are rehydrating it. During sleep, the fluid that lubricates joints settles and thickens. Think of it less like oil and more like honey. Cold honey doesn't flow easily, and it becomes fluid again. Movement is that warmth. When a senior slowly rolls their shoulders, bends their knees, or flexes their ankles in the morning, they are encouraging synovial fluid to spread across joint surfaces. This reduces friction, which the brain often interprets as pain. Pain in this context is not damage, it is resistance. Muscle rebuilding after the age of 60 is often misunderstood. People imagine heavy weights or exhausting routines. But muscle does not rebuild itself based on intensity alone. It rebuilds in response to clarity. When a muscle is asked to contract gently but deliberately, especially in its full range of motion, the body responds by reinforcing the fibers involved. Morning exercises that involve slow standing, controlled sitting, light leg lifts, or gentle pushing its gravity send a powerful message to muscle tissue: you are still needed. The body is remarkably economical. It preserves what it uses. When seniors move first thing in the morning, they are casting a vote for preservation. There is also a hormonal rhythm at play here. Cortisol, often misunderstood as a stress hormone, naturally rises in the morning. In healthy amounts, cortisol helps mobilize energy and reduce inflammation. When combined with calm movement, cortisol supports tissue repair rather than breakdown. This is why frantic mornings filled with rushing and tension feel so different from mornings that begin with measured motion. The same hormone can either sharpen the system, or the difference lies in how we move. Consider the simple act of standing up from a chair. For many seniors, this movement becomes a daily test. Yet this single motion activates the largest muscles in the body: the glutes, thighs, core, and spinal stabilizers. When performed slowly in the morning, with awareness of breath and posture, it becomes a full-body exercise that rebuilds muscle while protecting joints. The key is not speed, but sequence. Feet grounded first. Breath steady, spine tall. Muscles engage in layers, like an orchestra warming up rather than launching into a symphony. Each repetition reinforces neural pathways that weaken with inactivity. Over time, this restores confidence as much as strength. Pain often causes people to avoid movement, but pain and movement have a complicated relationship. In many cases, especially in aging bodies, pain is amplified by stillness. Nerves become hypersensitive when they are not regularly stimulated by safe motion. Morning exercises act like reassurance to the nervous system. They tell the brain that movement is predictable and safe. This lowers the volume of pain signals. It is not that the body suddenly becomes perfect, it becomes less defensive, less braced, less guarded. And a relaxed muscle heals more effectively than a tense one. Balance exercises in the morning deserve special attention. When seniors practice gentle rate shifts, heel raises, or single leg support while holding onto a stable surface, they are training the inner ear, eyes, and muscles to work together. Balance is not a single skill, it is a conversation between systems. Aging doesn't break this conversation, but it does make it quieter. Morning is the ideal time to turn the volume back up, before fatigue and distractions interfere. These balance movements also strengthen small stabilizing muscles that protect joints from sudden strain. reducing pain later in the day. Breathing, often overlooked, is the silent partner in all effective movement. Shallow breathing reinforces stiffness because it keeps the nervous system in a low-level state of alert. Deep, slow breathing during morning exercises stimulates the vagus nerve, shifting the body toward a calmer, restorative state. This change improves blood flow to muscles and connective tissue. Oxygen delivery increases. Waste products from overnight metabolism are cleared more efficiently. Pain decreases not because it is fought, but because the environment that sustains it is gently dismantled. Muscle rebuilding also depends on circulation. During sleep, blood flow is prioritized toward vital organs. Muscles receive less attention. Morning movement reverses this priority. Even simple ankle pumps or hand squeezes increase peripheral circulation, warming tissues that have been cool and rigid for hours. Warm muscles are more elastic. Elastic muscles are less prone to micro-injuries. Over weeks and months, this daily ritual of warming and moving becomes a protective habit, reducing flare-ups of chronic pain conditions. There is something deeply human about starting the day by inhabiting your body with intention. For seniors, whose bodies have carried decades of work, love, injury, and adaptation, this intention is a form of respect. Morning exercises are not about reclaiming youth. They are about honoring continuity. The same muscles that once ran, lifted, and danced are still present. They may be quieter now, but they listen closely. When you move them gently each morning, you remind them of their purpose. Science increasingly shows that muscle tissue remains adaptable well into later life. The cells responsible for repair and growth do not disappear, they become less responsive. Morning movement wakes them up. Mechanical tension, even at low levels, activates these cells. Over time, protein synthesis improves. Muscles regain density. Strength increases not in dramatic leaps, but in steady increments that compound. This is why consistency matters more than duration. 10 minutes every morning can be more powerful than an hour once a week. Stiffness, at its core, is a form of hesitation. The body is unsure whether it should freely or protect itself. Gentle morning exercises resolve this uncertainty. They create a safe dialogue. They say, "We will move, but we will listen." This approach builds trust within the body. And trust reduces pain. As the day progresses, the effects of morning movement ripple outward. Posture improves, gait becomes smoother, fatigue sets in later. Even mood shifts because physical confidence influences emotional state. The mind feels less trapped when the body feels capable. This is not philosophy divorced from biology, it is biology experienced subjectively. Muscles that engage properly reduce strain on joints. Joints that move smoothly send fewer distress signals. The brain, receiving calmer input, responds with clarity rather than caution. In the end, the best morning exercises for seniors are not defined by complexity or novelty. They are defined by respect for how the aging body actually works. Slow, deliberate movements. Full but comfortable ranges of motion. Breathing that supports rather than strains. Movements that resemble daily life. Because those are the movements worth preserving. This is how muscle rebuilds without rebellion. This is how pain softens without being suppressed. Each morning becomes an invitation rather than a challenge, an invitation to rebuild quietly, to restore communication, to remind the body that it is still capable of adaptation, still worthy of care, still responsive to kindness. And when movement begins the day this way, stiffness and pain no longer define the morning. They become passing sensations, gently replaced by a sense of readiness. Not for youth, not for perfection, but for another day lived with strength that feels earned and movement that feels meaningful.